What is a time where you felt that you failed that you learned a valuable lesson from?
That's such a hard question. Getting divorced was a big lesson.
Okay.
Yeah.
How come? What happened?
For a long time, like in your 20s and 30s, like getting married was a big goal, and I got married. And then I realized that that's not everything. And what I learned through being married was that knowing who you are, knowing your values, and knowing your non-negotiables is so much more important than anything else. It could be more important than the person that you love. And that was a huge lesson for me.
So do you think you didn't know yourself before getting married?
I think I didn't really know how important my values were to me before I got married.
What is true love like, in your opinion?
When I find out, I'll let you know.
Why did it not work, if you don't mind me asking?
Because I wanted to work so much that I was willing to overlook aspects of him and myself that didn't align with my true values. And that's why it didn't work.
You said if you don't know what you want, how's your partner supposed to? What do you want?
I want someone who has a high level of integrity. I want someone who's kind, not nice. And I want someone who is very disciplined. Because the thing is, like, people talk about, oh, I want this job, I want this lifestyle, yada, yada, whatever it is. I think if you focus on core values and characteristics of people, that is something that you can go a lot further with, because they will end up being there. Your partner doesn't need to be everything for you. We are social animals. It's not fair to put everything on a guy in this situation, to be your best friend, your confidant, the one that's supposed to provide you excitement, but also stability and security. It's not fair to ask one person to give you all these things when most of us can't even give it to ourselves.
Sure.
So it's looking for what you need, not necessarily what you want.
Imagine this: a woman who, after years of emotional investment, sacrifices everything for her marriage, only to find herself alone and heartbroken. She destroyed her marriage, but now she's in tears, wondering why men won't even give her a second glance. This heartbreaking scenario is happening more often than we realize. And today, we're going to dive into the powerful reasons why this is happening and what we can learn from it. By the end of this video, you'll understand how emotional decisions can shape the course of relationships and why men might be choosing to walk away. Stay with me because the truth will shock you. Let's uncover the reality behind this emotional journey. The rise of unmet emotional needs in marriage. From the outside, their marriage seemed perfect. But inside, something was missing. Too many relationships today are defined by unmet emotional needs. The woman in this story, like so many others, poured herself into the marriage. But somewhere along the way, her emotional needs were neglected. And when that happens, frustration builds. Hey, ever tried talking to someone who's looking at their phone like it's more interesting than your conversation? Yeah, you know the feeling. When emotional connection fades, the distance between partners grows. And for women, this often leads to feelings of isolation, anger, and a desperate attempt to regain what was lost. But here's the catch. This emotional disconnection often signals a deeper issue. What happens when a woman feels ignored for too long? She reacts, and not always in the healthiest ways. The destructive impact of expecting change without action. Many women believe that if they just keep trying, if they just hold on long enough, things will eventually change. But what happens when you expect change without taking real action to address the issue? The situation deteriorates further. The woman in this case didn't speak up when things first started to break down. She assumed that the love and effort would somehow repair itself, but it didn't. Yeah, relationships aren't solved with a simple checklist, are they? But if only it were that easy. The reality is that expecting your partner to change without having an honest conversation creates resentment and misunderstanding. The lack of communication creates a snowball effect, where both people retreat into their corners, emotionally distant, but both wondering why the other doesn't seem to care. The price of emotional manipulation. Another dangerous factor at play is emotional manipulation. In many cases, the woman may feel entitled to her partner's attention, believing that his love should manifest in constant validation, compliments, and affirmation. But when this expectation turns into manipulation, it creates an unhealthy power dynamic in the relationship. Because nothing says, I'm really invested in this marriage, like acting like you're the only one trying, right? Emotional manipulation, whether through guilt, silent treatment, or controlling behavior, creates a toxic cycle. What happens is that the person on the receiving end, in this case, the man, feels drained, undervalued, and unappreciated. The result? A breakdown in trust and the eventual retreat from the relationship. Cliffhanger, the harsh reality of being left behind. And here's the twist. After everything falls apart, after the dust settles, she's left with a harsh reality. Men aren't lining up to date her. In fact, many of them avoid her. Why? The reason is simple, but it's not one that's easy to face. What happens next will make you rethink everything you've been told about relationships. But before we get there, let's take a step back and understand why men are choosing not to engage. The consequences of a lack of accountability. For men, walking away from relationships often comes down to a simple reason: accountability. Men are no longer willing to invest in relationships where they feel blamed for everything, or where they're expected to fulfill all emotional needs without any reciprocal effort. Because we all know that solving relationship problems with a single romantic gesture or grand gesture doesn't cut it, right? Men are walking away from relationships where they feel like they're constantly expected to prove themselves without ever being heard. They want partners who see them as equals, not projects to be fixed or expectations to be met at all costs. This accountability, or lack thereof, is a game changer. Real change happens when both partners are willing to communicate openly, set healthy boundaries, and approach their relationships with mutual respect. It's time to stop making the same mistakes and start building meaningful connections. Want to learn how to approach your relationships with wisdom and clarity? Click the video popping up on the screen right now to discover practical dating advice that can change the way you connect with others.
There's been some great work on what behavioral markers predict divorce in couples counseling. Really solid work. Okay, so here's one predictor. When the couple is talking in front of a therapist and one of them or the other or both roll their eyes, there's like a 95% chance they're going to be divorced within 6 months. And that's contempt, eh? But here's another cool fact from that research. If you have people track the number of positive and negative interactions with their partner, you can calculate ratios, and then you can see what the ratio is that lends itself to the successful maintenance of a relationship. And so you might think, well, the more positive interactions, the better. And that's kind of true. So if it falls below 5 positive to 1 negative, the relationship is in danger.
Yeah.
But if it rises above 11 to 1, the relationship is also in danger. Well, you want support and love, and you want most of your interactions to be positive. But you want your partner to slap you now and then when you're being stupid.
And that wraps up today's episode of Manosphere Daily. If you enjoyed the content, give it a like. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified as soon as a new video is out. Share your thoughts in the comments below. See you all tomorrow.